Welcome class to the Splunk session of app management. So today we are gonna go through the app management part of the Splunk. It deals with how the apps are managed, how the add-ons are integrated with the Splunk, how you can download your apps from required apps from the Splunk base and play around with them, and multi other set of features as well. So let's get started. So hope this is an interesting session for you guys because it is something very productive as well as interesting. So we have multiple things to cover today. Some basics on Splunk apps, managing of the app permissions, developing of the apps, a brief idea on that because there is a completely different course for developing of Splunk apps. And finally, the apps on forwarders, which is basically the add-ons, the low footprint apps. Yes, we also have add-ons separately, installing and deleting of apps from the Splunk base and managing of apps. So we'll get started now. So what is an app? What is an Splunk app? So let me give you a precaution previously itself that it is no way related to the apps that you have in your smartphones nowadays. So Splunk app is something that is a bit misguiding, but it's completely different from the apps that we have in our mobiles. So Splunk apps is again serving the same purpose. It is adding multiple features in your Splunk. It is giving you a lot of interfaces, lot of customization, but does not mean that building one has to have a lot of coding knowledge required. It is the configuration files in the background that is creating each apps. So the Splunk app is an independent collection of configuration files. So it can be defining inputs, indexes, source type, field extraction or transformation. So whatever is your requirement, you put it in the configuration file, make a bundle of one or many configuration file, and you can just copy paste it in your app, or you can just term that bundle of configuration file as your app. So there are multiple ways an app can be used for, like providing event types, tags, reports, dashboards, and other knowledge objects. So it can be used for optimization, enhancement, also as the user representation of your data. So there are multiple ways in which an app can be interpreted. So let me tell you, we can have an app with maybe app.conf. I am telling you what are the configuration file, possible configuration file that you can use to build app A. You can use input.conf, indexes.conf, and transform.conf to build one. And you can build maybe default.meta or mylookup.csv. So those things also you can include in your another app. So these two app will have some difference in their functionality, but even then they'll be serving to meet some purposes that is different from each other. So most apps are focused on a specific type of data from a vendor, operating system, or industry. So these apps are sometimes made by Splunk or the Splunk based people. What they basically do is it is tailoring to fit the requirements of specific you can tell application. So suppose for an example you have an app such as an Oracle DB Connect, which basically what it does is it's connect your Splunk enterprise and it optimizes the data that is coming from the database to meet the requirements of the Splunk enterprise. So via this app you can convert all the required fields to common information model. For an example, you have the Cisco app, or if you have a Palo Alto app. So what they will do is as you know, the Splunk is basically collecting data from different sources, different log sources, be it any firewall, be it any network data, be it any antivirus. But these all places will have their own set of settings, right? So they will have their own fields to call each of the items. So somewhere host would represent the name of the server from where it is coming. Somewhere host will be analogous to the host name. Somewhere it will be maybe something else, something like this. But we have to convert all of these fields to something that Splunk readily recognizes. Else you have a duplicacy, you might end up with a duplicacy of fields, because in the Splunk search you might see the same field appearing multiple times. So I'll tell you where it will, the issue would be caused. So when we do a regular searching, so we see that there are multiple fields that are coming up. So these fields are something that are getting readily extracted from the source. That field extraction is happening in the index. So there are multiple other fields also. So this is happening because it falls under Win Event Log security format, which Splunk has added on its own. So there is no field extraction that we have to do separately. But in certain cases, there are some source types that is not readily available in Splunk, because you have a lot of softwares that you integrate with your Splunk. So maybe everything won't be preset from Splunk end, but that does not stop you from doing it from your own. And let me tell you, it won't be that difficult when you are defining the source types and the hosts and everything, right? So in that case, there might be some deviation if you don't have a CMI or common information model defined. So how to convert all the source data fields to something that is readily recognized by Splunk? So instead of you doing it manually, the apps does it for you. And let me tell you, there are thousands of apps that are available in splunkbase.com. Let me show you that as well, from where you can download almost anything that suits your requirement. So this is a new Splunk base which has got a revamp in the current conf 2016. So after that, this Splunk base has been, there are multiple changes that has been done. So there are multiple GUI changes and functionality changes as well. So let me tell you the most popular apps that are being used. So yeah, the Splunk add-on for Microsoft Windows or Linux, or multiple Cisco, as I was telling, the Splunk Common Information Model. So these are the apps that you can use for your needs. So as I was telling, you can download these apps. I have a couple of them in my folders only. So I'll get to that. So meanwhile, as we know, so Splunk apps are something that is available for free in the website. Apart from a couple of the premium apps that you can't download for free, 98% of the apps, everything is free. So you can download them, whatever you need. Maybe you have a Palo Alto firewall, or you need the DB Connect to convert your database data, or maybe you would just need your Unix data to have to tailor and meet the Splunk needs. So in that case, you can have the Splunk add-on for Unix and Linux. So this, by this you can have a grip that this is a different data from a vendor, and that is being defined by an app. So app does all that, be it operating system the way we see for Windows and Linux, be it different vendors. So we can see that different applications needs are being met by different Splunk apps. So what it will do, as I told you, it basically will convert the data of the different sources to something that is readily acceptable by Splunk. So that is a CMI, or Common Information Model, in which model all the source data would be converted to. So these are the different features of an app, and apps may be installed on any Splunk instance, be it a forwarder, be a search head, be it an indexer. So it can go with any of them wherever required. And Splunk already have by default multiple apps installed. If you don't know them, let me tell it to you. So search and reporting is an app. Search and reporting, the first thing that you do when you come to log in Splunk, you log into search and reporting. It's basically an app, because unless you have one app in your system, you can't do anything. You might be indexing the data, but to meet your customized UI needs, To create those dashboard alerts, all those needs, you need to have that default app. You can't uninstall this app. You should not uninstall this app. So you don't have any more apps over here, but I'll show you onboarding one, how it's done. So you see only one app is having its background, or it can be visible. That is we have the home app, we have the DMC app. If you remember, we have gone through DMC a couple of times. That's also an app. You can see visibility. So you have a couple of things: names, folder name, version, update checking, visible, sharing, status, and actions. So where is it hosting in your backend? So let me show you. These are all the apps that you find, and the Splunk etc apps. You will find all the listed apps in their different folders. So, but everything won't be visible in the Splunk web. That's because you won't have the visibility in the web. You have it for only three. That is the home page that you come across, that the Splunk home. Once you log in, the page that you come across, even that is an app. The next is search and reporting, that you can already see it's over there. Getting started is the first thing that happens when you first time log in as an admin or as a user. So that's also an app. That is a very basic app. And also the DMC, which gives an internal health analysis of Splunk system. So that's also an app. So you see, some of them are disabled, some of them are enabled. So what all is required are mostly enabled. So getting started is disabled for it as of now. Maybe that's because it might be because it gives you one-time enablement, and after that it gets disabled by default, because if I remember, we saw it the first time we logged in. So since it's not acting as a forwarder, so the Splunk forwarder apps are disabled by default. And you have other actions that you can do over here, which will come to that in this session only. So apps can enhance and extend the Splunk platform with ready-to-use function ranging from optimized data collection to monitoring, security, IT management. So that's what Splunk app does. So it's a out-of-the-box solution to multiple requirements that you would eventually come across. So apps delivers a user experience designed to make Splunk immediately useful and relevant for typical tasks and roles. So as I was telling you, the same thing. So it is an out of the box solution to meet our needs. You don't have to customize a lot of things that will be met by apps itself. Be it the dashboards that you want to make, be it the type of data you want to onboard, or be it to you limit the roles and responsibility of some set of users. All that can be done by apps. So app simplify, basically what it does, it simplifies and optimizes the user tasks and allow access to the data and functions of the full platform. So via app, even though you are accessing the raw data that is getting indexed in Splunk, but you don't see that complex picture because it's giving you an optimized view, which is very helpful. We were discussing its pre-built dashboards, reports, alerts, workflows, all that can be part of an app. It gives in-depth analysis for power users as well, and point and click analytics to empower business users. So since the dashboards you are creating, the dashboards we would be creating eventually, that comes sometimes pre-built with the app itself. So when you are downloading these apps, right? So if you download, suppose a Palo Alto network add-on for Splunk. So this is an add-on. This will just be dealing with the conversion of the Palo Alto data to the CMI model. So you can see that the data add-on collects traffic. So this is not the right term. So collection is being done by the Splunk forwarder, but this app sits on the top of forwarder just to give you an impression that the data that is coming in is converted to the Splunk CMI model. So and also it is having the data using the pre-built dashboard panels included with the add-on. So this add-on has its own dashboards which can be taken leverage of. Okay, you don't have to readily build, you have to break your head on building the dashboards on your own. This will do it for that. And it's also add-ons, it's certified by Splunk. This is very important. So if it's not certified by Splunk, it might lose on certain things, but once it's certified by Splunk, you can be full sure from your end that it's meeting all the purposes. The latest version is 3.6.1, and it tells you where all it's workable and what is the type and how is the license agreement happens, everything. So these apps usually does not have a separate license because these are free apps. This licensing will happen under the same Splunk software license agreement, unless you are going from some premium apps like the enterprise security, or there is a couple of other apps which have their own certificate, say different certificate. So we just saw that these apps are installed in the Splunk etc apps, where you can just play around with it and see what all apps you are having and what all is actually visible. Some are hidden, some are visible, some are disabled altogether. So all that you see are there in Splunk, but maybe they're not showing up. So please don't try to force delete any of these default apps, because they might not be working for you as of now, but they might come handy at some point of time. So we should not be playing around with it from the back end by completely deleting it. You can disable it from the GUI, but it's recommended not to delete anything from here. And these take up very small space. If I can show you some apps that I have downloaded, you would see that, yeah, Splunk app for Nix. Let's see how much space it's occupying. It's like 6 MB. So there's an add-on for Unix. There's 1 MB. So you can understand how insignificant its size is. And as I was telling you, once you get into the app, once you extract the app, it's nothing but a bundle of configuration files. So it's just configuration file, as you can see. Indexes, inputs, macros, props, these are all .conf file. If you can see in the type, these are all configuration files. So this is what it is, nothing else. So if it has to has a UI, you will have some other XML codings. If you want it to be shown in the if I have a user interface, but if you just want it to sit on the backend and serve your purpose, then these all would be fine. This configuration file bundle would be fine. So this might vary. Maybe if it's an input related app, then you might need the input.conf. If it's an output related app, you might need the outputs.conf. Or if it's an app that is consolidating both, transforming both, then you would need both, and with that transform.conf and props.conf and many others. Yes. So as you see in this page, you can grant permissions as well over here. So you can give permission to whoever you wanted to. Being an admin, you have the privilege. So here we see the read admin for just everyone. Everyone can do or touch any apps or manage the apps. They can just see it, what all apps or what is the presence of the apps. Written permission is only given to power user, and admin will have it by default. So power user can write. So if you want to change it, you can always change it to. You can always remove it and keep it admin. In that case, the power user won't have the privilege of changing this. So I'm not changing this, and it's in Splunk forwarder. So we are in the search and reporting app. So we are, oh no, we are in the Splunk home. So let's see. Okay, it's enabled. It, you can't disable it or can't delete it. Some of the apps, nothing can be done on them. Like search and reporting, you can't disable it. It has to be there because yeah, it is the basic requirement that's there in Splunk. So here you have Splunk home permissions. Again, power users can play with it. You can always change them. Sharing for config file only objects. Set permission for configuration files that have been copied over and added to configuration file rather than created through the UI. Objects defined in config files only, not in the UI, should appear in the app only or all apps. So there's sometimes when you are not creating it by the UI, but you are copy pasting it in the backend. You are doing it over here in Splunk home. You are doing it. Sorry, you're doing it over here. So what you can do, I can do is I can copy an app from here. Suppose TNX, and I can just paste it in my list of apps. In that case, you would need a restart for the app to show up in here, but it will just show up in only system, this app only system, and not in all the apps. Okay, because I'm in launcher, it has to be in launcher. So again, now let's discuss a bit on add-ons. So the current one that I transferred is basically, yeah. So the one I transferred is a TA or technology add-on. So there's a difference between the app and an add-on from some basic perspective. So an add-on have very limited functionality, and it basically goes in the forwarders. So it has a very limited footprint, it's very less in size, and it does not have the very distributed console. So Splunk app will always have a UI console. So it will always have a presence in the UI. You can always open the user interface and you can play around with it. So mostly what you design for your own needs will be an add-on. We always confuse it by telling it as an app, but if it until it has an GUI, it would be termed mostly as an add-on. So app has extended capabilities of having an user interface, and it can always uh, have the extended capability of those extra dashboards and alerts and everything. Hope you had a great class learning. Please reach out to Intellipath if you have any doubts on this, and I'll obviously get back to you. Thank you. Have a great day.